Welcome back to the Anti-Fragile Mindset Podcast. We have a special guest interview for you today, and we're going to dive into the exact mental architecture required to perform under extreme scrutiny, pivot through major life transitions, and build an unshakable athletic culture. Let's get into it.
Our guest today is a pillar of the Canadian skating community. He is a 2014 Winter Olympian, a 3-time Canadian National Senior Bronze Medalist, a ISU World Junior Silver Medalist, and a recent inductee into the Barrie Sports Hall of Fame, and alongside with his celebrated late partner, Alexandra Paul. Today, he's steering the ship for the next generation as the director of dance at the historic Mariposa School of Skating here in Ontario. Mitch, it is such a pleasure. Welcome to the show.
Thank you, Christine. It's my pleasure to be here, and I'm looking forward to having a conversation.
Excellent. And I just want to personally just congratulate you on being inducted into the Barrie Hall of Fame. What an accomplishment. Well done.
Yeah, thanks, Christine. It was, growing up in Barrie at the Mariposa School of Skating. In a lot of ways, I grew up here, and yeah, those mornings warming up, running up and down the ramp in the facility here. The Barrie Sports Hall of Fame has all the beautiful portraits of all the inductees from years past, and I remember from a young age as a kid warming up and looking at those portraits on the wall and saying, I want to be up there one day. So it's something really special, and Alex and I were both really proud of Barrie being our home, and Mariposa being very much our home. And it was a nice thing, actually, in retrospect. Alex actually did know that we were being inducted into the Hall of Fame. We were supposed to be inducted later in the year that she was taken from us. And so things got put off about a year, but she was part of that initial process, and she was just as excited and proud as I was for that honor.
Yeah. Amazing, amazing. And speaking of the 2014 Olympics, I just want to take you back to February 2014. You're standing at the boards. You're at the Iceberg Skating Palace in Sochi. The Olympic rings are literally under your feet, and you hear the roar of the crowd. That it almost feels like a wall, I imagine, right? And you've only got a few minutes in order to get your free dance and to put down years of grueling daily preparation. When that noise is that deafening and there's so much stimulus coming at you, and all the thoughts and recognizing where you are, what did your internal dialogue sound like to kind of keep you physically anchored in your body, to the ice, and to your partner?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, just you introducing that question, gives me a little bit of the butterflies and the tingles. I think, excuse me, I've used the word overwhelming to explain the Olympic experience, and not necessarily in a negative way. It really was larger than life. I think arriving at the village and getting into that arena the first time. It definitely feels like something bigger than you, which is part of what makes it also special. I think for Alex and I personally, our big mountain to climb that season was qualifying for the Olympics. We had 3 spots. You had Tess and Scott, you had Caitlin and Andrew, sort of locked in with those first 2 spots, and then Piper and Paul and Alex and I were sort of battling back and forth for that 3rd spot. So I recall it as the sort of the climax of our season, in the sense of anxiety. Would have been the national championships for sure. So for me, that was sort of the huge monkey off the shoulder, was that qualification. So we actually felt, I think, arriving at the Olympics, we did feel a little bit at ease in comparison to how we felt arriving in Ottawa for nationals. I think one of the challenges we dealt with was sort of the come down after nationals, and having to turn around pretty quickly in a few weeks to be ready for the Olympics. Like I said, with that sort of anxiety level where it was going into the national championships. There's obviously a natural down that's coming after that. So that was a bit of our challenge was dealing with the training when we got back to the rink. I would say it wasn't necessarily our best training, which showed up a little bit at the games. Unfortunately, we had a little bit of a mistake in the short program that cost us. But no, I think to answer the other part of your question, Christine, I think pride was really the over arching feeling that I had standing over top of those rings or looking up at the end of the rink and seeing those rings. As I'm standing in my starting position, I think I was incredibly proud of what I personally had gone through all through my life as an athlete, and just the commitment and dedication and sacrifice that it takes, and obviously proud of the work Alex and I had put in, and relatively a short amount of time together, about 6 7 5 6 years before that game. So yeah, I think like any competition, you really try to rely on autopilot. I like to look at my feet underneath me and remind me that I'm on top of them and I'm in control, and that to trust the work that you put in at home. I've done this 10,000 times. My feet are underneath me, and I can do this. I think it's really important to not allow that noise to enter in to your headspace before a competition, which is a challenge, and that's a
Yep.
challenge
Yep.
for any athlete. But yeah, I think where I got to at the end of my career with dealing with the noise and the nerves, was remembering that every morning when I woke up and was going to the rink, that I wanted to make my goal that I was mitigating how much of the nerves I was going to feel when it did come time for competition. Because I would, like I said, look at my feet and tell myself that I'd prepared for this. I did everything I could, and let's just let the rest take care of itself.
Yeah, absolutely. And I try and tell the skaters I work with that, you're not trying to get rid of nerves. You've got nerves. Nerves are good. It's like, let's figure out how to use them. Let's figure out how
Exactly.
to contain it and use it in a really strong and powerful way. So
Exactly. Exactly. And I
amazing.
think that's something I try to use as a coach now with my skaters, is just reminding them that they're human and that these nerves are normal, and every other skater that you're competing against at this competition is going to be having the exact same human feelings. And so we need to trust ourselves, and really that does come from quality preparation. That I really do firmly believe in that.
Absolutely.
You've got to be able to sort of flip that switch when you arrive at the event.
Absolutely, because you can't trick your mind if you haven't put in the time, you're not prepared. No amount of positive thinking is gonna, make that
Exactly. And I
switch
think,
flip.
doubts are human nature.
Yep, they're normal.
Doubts are human nature, I think. But getting to that competition, and when you tell yourself I've done everything I can, if you're lying to yourself or not. And so I'm really firmly believe in honoring every day and that preparation, and that really serving the athlete when it comes time to compete.
Absolutely. So in those kind of high stakes sports, I know I talk a lot about anti-fragility and the idea that certain systems, like we actually thrive and grow when we have these setbacks, when we are subjected to stress, and we learn how to deal with it. And
Mhm.
then we know, I'm going to be okay. I can handle it. I can handle whatever comes at me. When you look back at your competitive career, was there a specific performance or injury setback that really felt devastating at the time, but ultimately taught you a psychological tool that you can even use today and with your skaters?
Yeah. Um, all right, let's dig into it then, shall we? Yeah, I mean, for me, um, there was a aha moment for sure. Um, Alex and I had kind of shot out of the cannon when we started skating together. Started in junior, had a really great first season that culminated with that junior world medal. And then we jumped up into senior, and had a pretty solid season that first senior season, both internationally and actually bronze medal at nationals our first year senior, which was awesome. And then we moved on our second year senior, and injuries started piling up. Um, so, a little bit of lack of preparation in terms of what your perfect ideal preparation would look like. Um, we, I'll explain it this way. I think for me, I'm a perfectionist, which, as you would understand, Christine, has different forms. But for
Yes.
me, what it looked like was, if something wasn't perfect, my first reaction was to stop and want to do it again
Mhm.
because I wanted to do it better than that, and I knew I could, right? And so my first sort of initial thought was stop, give up, protect myself. This isn't as good as I can do, and let's go try this again. Unfortunately, you don't have that opportunity in this sport. You have, when it matters, one chance to go from A to B, right? So um, I was doing that increasingly, let's say, over those first couple of senior seasons that we had. And our second season senior, we actually moved to Michigan, and that was something that pretty quickly got trained out of me. There were a couple of moments that were meant to sort of put me on the spot when I did something like that, and I learned my lesson pretty quickly. We'll just put it that way. And so for me, we got to the national championships that second year in senior. We had a fall in our free dance. I hit my toe pick and face planted, and we really wanted the world championships that year. It was sort of the same situation with Piper and Paul. It was, I think, leading into a worlds in London, home worlds. So we were gung ho to get that spot, and I face planted in the free dance, and I think we wound up fifth. That was the bottom. That was the pit. That was the um, you're starting to think about other things in life. But at the same time, I knew deep, deep down that this wasn't it, and that we had more to give. So I remember Alex and I were apart for a weekend. I think I'd gone home or something, or I'd stayed in Michigan and she had gone home. And we had a phone call, and we basically aired everything out. I explained to her that I was pretty understanding at this point that I had to change how I was sort of behaving on the ice. And she was very much on board to be a part of that. That basically, um, go was the word we used. Go. We liked that a little bit better than Don't Stop, but essentially that was the focus, that we were going to push through no matter what came our way, and that could be specific in a run through on a training day, or that could be something more macro, like dealing with a bit of an injury setback or whatever. But we were clear with one another that we had to make changes, and that we had one season to get our act together if we wanted to qualify for the Olympics. Um, and that's what we did. I think, like I said, and this, it often takes people getting to that rock bottom to kind of go, okay, I do need to make some adjustments here, which yeah, we really recognize. And I think I look back at it as, if I hadn't hit my toe big and face planted, maybe we're not looking at the Olympic rings the next season. So there's no failures. I think we learn from things that don't go our way. But yeah, there's a very long answer to yes. We certainly had that rock bottom moment at that nationals, and we had to get uncomfortable and mature and grow up and address some of our weaknesses.
Yeah.
And that's what we did. And I think the result that next season showed that.
Yeah, absolutely. And the resilience just in being able to pick yourself back up from such a
Hmm.
tough moment, and then learning and recognizing that failure isn't the end. Like it's just feedback, right? Every
Exactly.
mistake, every setback, it's just more feedback to help you move forward,
Right.
and not to be afraid of that,
And I think what I learned is there's responsibility there. Like
for sure.
there's like I I knew that I shouldn't be stopping, but it took that rock bottom for me to really understand that you have to make changes to make changes.
Absolutely. Excellent. So you and Alex officially retired from the competitive circuit, December 2016. Is that correct?
Yeah, it was what we kind of hung him up halfway through a season. There was reasons for it. We hadn't had a good first half of the season. Finishing with some Grand Prix results that were not great. And essentially um, I was struggling at that point. Even going into that last season, I had kind of talked to Alex and said, I don't know if my heart's in this anymore. We had only been in Montreal at that point for less than a season, so her angle was let's give this a bit of time. Let's try one more season here, and we'll go from there. And after that first half of the season, Alex kind of got into the same place I was, and we knew we were done. We were out of love with it. And Alex, very ambitious young woman, she wanted to start law school. Like she wanted to get going with school. So um, retiring then allowed her to start school basically
Right.
a semester earlier. So that was sort of the determining factor in us not pushing out the rest of the season. But yeah, it was that 2016, 2017 season.
Right. Right. And so for like so many elite athletes, changing from that schedule, from the everything is, it's a regime. Like you're set,
Yeah,
you're told what to do, you do this, you
yeah,
do this, you do this, and then
yeah,
to kind of retire or quit, or whatever
yeah.
happens to make you move on and transition then into a non-competitive, non-elite skating life,
Mhm.
for many is really hard, really, really hard. Were you guys mentally at peace with that once you made that decision, or did you still struggle psychologically, kind of getting it together afterwards?
Yeah, I think in the sense, like there were no feelings of regret for stopping. We knew and we were very much ready. There was never a regret that way. I think, I mean, you're bang on. I think the way I explained it in those first couple of years after retiring was that it's really easy to be an athlete. Like it really is. Everything, like you said, is laid out for you. You just show up and do the work. But there's not a lot of thinking that's got to go on, right? And that was the big adjustment for me coming out of competitive sport was I had to, put thought into as a starting point, thought into what I had to do to be productive, right? Like it wasn't just show up and do the work and go home and yeah, had a great day. So that was a big challenge for me. Nothing's laid out for you in that nice routine as it was. So huge adjustment there. For me, I had a lot of the sort of competitive juices were still able to exercise themselves because I jumped right back into coaching and have been, pretty fortunate over my coaching career to work with, kids, but also very high level skaters as well. So that for sure for me, it makes me tick. And I think for Allie, she was an academic, and so going back to law school right away, she didn't have time to think about skating anymore. And I know the adjustment for her, I think was quite smooth.
Mhm.
It was bang 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 law school, articling, have a job,
Right.
get married, have a kid. Like
Yeah,
it was all
everything kind of
pretty.
lined out. Yeah.
Yeah, it was there was lots going on in those few years. So but yeah, for me, like I said, it's an adjustment. It's your identity in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
It's 10, 15, 20 years of your life that's been very much structured the same way. And I think for anybody coming out of a routine like that, there's going to be some figuring out, some nav
Challenges.
that needs to go on.
Absolutely, absolutely. And so, speaking of that, so when any kind of high level athlete then makes that transition and is now standing behind the boards and doing that coaching, um, I find it sometimes even more nerve wracking as the coach standing behind than the skater on the ice. When you watch your athletes and they're competing, um, what's going through your mind, and are you able to kind of give up that little bit of control and then step back and just go, okay, I've done what I can, it's all up to you guys?
I'm thinking right now about an interview that the Carolina Hurricanes head coach gave a couple of days ago, Rob Brindamore. Somebody asked him in the presser if he's enjoying and embracing this Stanley Cup experience, and he goes, "No, it's way too stressful. I'll enjoy it later, like later on." But and I'm kind of thinking of that now. You know what? I get very nervous. I do for my skaters. It's a very different nervous.
Yeah,
I don't think, for me personally, I know every coach is different this way, but for me personally, there's nothing more nerve-wracking than you having to go out there to do it. I'll be honest. Like me having to go out there to do it is more nerve-wracking. There's more anxiety than somebody else doing it. It's more with my skaters of it's more like a kind of parenting energy. Like you
yeah,
just how hard they work. The
yeah,
blood, sweat, and tears that goes into it. The sacrifices their families are making, the financial burden. Like all of that is in your head when they're competing, and so you just want it so badly for them. And
yes,
and when
yes,
things don't go as planned, or not as great as you'd hoped, your heart hurts for them. Like it's one of those things.
yeah,
But at the same time, as when I was an athlete, like that motivates you and you want to get back to work, and I got to be a better coach with these guys. And um so yeah, I think I do get very nervous. I'll just say it as I sweat as about as much as a coach as I did as a skater.
yeah,
But it's a totally different kind of nervous for me. It's you just want it so badly for them. You're hopeful. It's more of that kind of energy. But yeah, that's something that I don't think will ever go away in this sport,
no,
no matter what role you're playing.
for sure. For sure. And I imagine as I went through my son, the coaching and just wanting it so bad for them and wanting them to feel accomplished. And also, I found it even more magnified when my son was competitive in his sport and wanting it for him. And do you find that it's a similar feeling, or it's more magnified with your son now that he's
Yeah,
starting to get a little older?
totally. 100%. And that's kind of why I used the parenting word before when I
Yep.
explained how the energy feels. Because yeah, not having a kid, it's like it's that kind of feeling more. It's more you just want it so badly for them because you love them, and it's you go through life together, and with these skaters, you're together several hours a day. Like in a lot of ways, you do go through life together, and it's a hard thing. It
Yeah, and
really is.
I imagine that your dad, David, went
Yeah,
through the same thing,
yeah,
and especially being a high-level competitive dancer
yeah,
himself,
yeah,
um, did you find that helpful or extra pressure?
yeah. I mean, um, I come from a skating family. I think in a lot of ways, I'm super grateful for that because that's probably why I am who I am today. Why I became a skater was because of my parents' involvement with the sport. I think for my dad and I, especially as I got older, it was challenging on both sides.
Mm.
And I was a teenage boy, and at the best of times, maybe not the easiest entity to deal with. But yeah, as I got sort of into my later teens, we both were finding it a bit more challenging to sort of separate father, son, and athlete. As a 16, 17 year old, you don't want your dad telling you what to do at the best times. And when I got to the rink, I had to allow him to tell me what to do. And my teenage energy maybe didn't deal with that as maturely as I could have, but yeah. So we had my dad. Like I said, I'm the skater I am today because of him and his team that he had with him here in Barrie. Um, but it was him at the end of the day. My parents, but my dad that told us to go. They were the ones that it wasn't a decision Alex and I made. In the end it was, but it was them that sort of brought that to us after that season that we had some injuries to deal with and whatever. It was their idea, which chokes me up just thinking about it now that I'm a coach. Having that sort of selflessness, I think again. We probably weren't standing at the Olympic Games without a decision like that made. So,
Yeah, and as a coach, that selflessness is hard because you're very
yeah,
invested.
of course,
Uh,
and I
yeah,
get that. I get that side of it.
yeah,
But I'm really trying to model myself after my dad that way because that's something that he's always prided himself on and how he's behaved as a coach is it's not about us and it's we're here to guide and do everything we can for these skaters, but at the end of the day it's not this isn't our show.
right, right.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, you yourself, I mean, you've helped guide phenomenal talent through the region and national ranks. What was your most proudest moment so far as a coach?
Wow. Oh, geez, putting me on the spot. I think, there's several, and I think each one are special in different ways.
Yeah, it's hard to choose, I know.
Yeah, and you're going through those circumstances with different people, and with each team, there's, nuances to your relationship. But um, I think what you know Summer Nick did last season was huge. I think for me as a coach, an international medal, a couple of junior Grand Prix medals for them first half of the season, like that's a big deal. Like I'm really proud of that. And qualifying for the Junior World Championships, huge. I've had other teams qualify for the Junior Worlds, and if I think about it, I think actually a Canadian team. But that was my first year coaching. I'd kind of jumped into the team with Kelly and my dad and James, and didn't have my hands on the situation for the first few years of their time together. So my point being, Nick's been he's a Barrie boy. Like he grew up here, and he's very much. I'm proud of the work that we've put in with him, and then Summer, going from competing at the national championships in pairs to a couple months later, making a very difficult but very big girl decision to ice dance. Uh, Kudos to her for having that sort of decisiveness. And kudos to her coach, Allison, that called me and said, I've got this girl that I think has something um, for the discipline. Um, Incredibly proud of and grateful for all of that. And then, yeah, just, I mean, the work that we've put in together over the last couple of years, work and my kid are pretty much all I have right now. And so, I'm very involved with them over the last couple of years. And so just, to see some of that work turning into some success last year was really cool. And like I said, for them, we ran into injuries last year, as you would know, Christine, from your work with Summer. But yeah, like basically the second two-thirds of the season, somebody was hurt, right? And
Yeah,
so we
yeah,
were dealing with very suboptimal training. And challenge and nationals for them to do what they did there,
amazing. Yeah,
based on where things were at, like
yeah,
they came up.
yeah,
They exceeded my expectations at those events.
yeah.
So for me, I think them going to nationals, hobbling into nationals and laying it down, and qualifying that junior world spot, was incredible.
Yeah, yeah, that took a lot of strength mentally and physically
Yeah,
for them to step up and do that.
for
Yeah.
sure.
And big kudos to you guys and your team, for helping them through that. And I imagine just your experience going through similar yourself was a great advantage to them. So,
Yeah, there's you always make the best of the situation, right? So that's what we were trying to do. And um yeah, like I said, it's incredible what they achieved last year. And it was I think by the end of the season things caught up a little bit to them. It's totally understandable. But no, they're feeling really good, and it's been an awesome few months here, and they're firing on all cylinders as we go into July.
amazing, amazing. So as we kind of look at the broader state of ice dance, the recent 2026 Olympics in Milan, and lots of sort of debates and drama around around scoring and
I'll start by
how
saying though, that's okay. We're talking about it. I think Milano was a good Olympics for figure skating. I'll just leave
yeah,
it at that.
yeah, absolutely. And so, as a national coach and director, like, when you have this sort of political noise, and when the sports get when our sport gets this loud, right? And it's so good to have the conversation coming out and people like speaking about it. But how do you keep your athletes focused on
Yeah.
their work and just staying present and work on their technical perfection without worrying about is it predetermined, um,
Yeah.
all of that political part of our sport that we have to deal with, like how do you help them through that?
I think what I do is I direct them the way my dad directed me with stuff like this, um, which really resonated with me when I started skating with Alex and we had our first sort of junior season together. We're at our first junior Grand Prix, and a group of the Russian coaches and some of the Eastern European countries, they're all kind of grouping together and doing this, watching Alex and I practice, and Alex and I are feeling the heat a little bit, and um, I think first of all, they're talking about you for a reason. Is where my dad directed our energy.
Yes.
They're worried about you, but no, bigger than that, I think is what he tried to instill in us was that you have to be that good, and that's the hunger and the urgency you take to the rink every day and train with.
Yeah.
Is that you have to be good enough that you can't give them the option. Is sort of
Yeah.
the way that we look at it,
Yeah.
and at the end of the day, I'm big with my skaters on controlling what you can control.
Yeah.
I think it's and it's something I've learned to do better in my life in general is just, not worrying, stressing, anxiety about things that really you cannot do anything about, you cannot
Yeah.
control.
Yeah.
Um, there's a difference there if there is a level of control, but it's a subjective sport. It's always
Yeah.
going to be a factor. It's part of why we love this sport is that it is subjective and it's art, and there isn't necessarily black and white, and that's a reality. And I think sometimes there's some controversy that can come from that. I think generally we're doing better with the new system 25 years ago. Um, Generally we're doing better, but yeah, it can be frustrating.
Yeah.
You want things called as they are. You want those things that can be called as a little bit more black and white, called black or white based on what was seen. Um, yeah, so I think it was an interesting Olympics across all disciplines. Lots of different things going on in the different disciplines. Highlight for me had to be Riku and Reichi winning the gold medal in the pair event.
Yes. Yes.
Had the pleasure of working with them when I was working with Bruno Marcotte
Yep.
under his tutelage a little bit. When I started coaching, I was going down to help his teams out with some skating skills work, and yeah, he kind of threw me to the wolves with them, and look at their footwork. I need these turns better. They got to be faster here. Why is his leg line? And anyway, so I had the opportunity to work with them for a couple of seasons, and yeah, they had me choked up. And yeah, there was lots going on in the dance event, as
Yes.
we know,
Yes.
between those top two teams. I think it's invigorating. I think I'm not going to make any personal comments on what happened.
Fair enough.
I, I'll just leave it to people to keep their own judgments about things. But no, I think the overarching feelings are just how incredible the level of ice dance has risen to.
Mhm.
Like I watch my Olympic season free dance, and I'm like, this wasn't even 15 years ago, and it's like this looks pretty basic. Um, and no, but it's true, and it's really developed and improved, and it's more dynamic, and it's incredible what these top teams are doing. But for me, it was the dance highlight was Piper and Paul.
Yeah.
I was actually speaking to Piper a couple of days ago, and I told her the story of I had to go pick Charlie up from daycare. That last group was on the free dance, and I'm like trying to time things out. Am I gonna be able to watch everybody before I leave? No, I'm not. What am I gonna do? So I had it streaming on my phone, and I remember Piper and Paul were stepping out, and I said, okay, I'm pulling into this gas station, parked, and watched them, and I'm sitting there crying in my car watching them.
Yeah.
It was pretty special.
Yeah.
So many different angles for me there, but just they're making Canada so proud. It was something special what they did. And they earned it. Like what they've put in over these several years. The work, the commitment, the sort of innovation, creativity that they bring to things. Um, they earned that, and it was cool to see. And then personally, just having been a small part of their journey, um, that had me choked up. So it was yeah, it was a Special Olympics. I think we're coming out of it, and skating's got a little bit of buzz going again, and I love that. We need that, especially over here in North America. Love what I'm seeing coming out of the U.S. And what Alyssa did for the sport this year. I think was really cool to see.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm feeling pretty positive about where skating's at for the first time in a long time.
Amazing. Yeah, me as well. Agree with you wholeheartedly, and really so proud of all of our Canadian skaters and
Yep.
how they performed. So as we kind of now talk about this coming season and the changes with requirements now coming into this season, and the waltz coming back a little bit more of a rigid
Yeah.
dance and
Yeah.
everything that goes along with it. It's like, how
Well,
are the
exactly.
skaters going to adapt and manage to going back to being so much more
Yeah.
body upright, deep edges, carriage like that? So
Right.
how are you going to help them? Like, what kind of shock are they going through? Some shock or like
Well, and that's as ice dance evolves, I think this is part of what's helping it evolve is that we're doing things like this where we determine, a waltz rhythm for the rhythm dance this year. Um, which means, you got that 3, 4 time signature, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and beyond that, you can get creative. Let's just put it that way. Um,
Okay.
but at the same time, I think you're trying to push the envelope and
Always. Yeah.
maybe not like necessarily grand ballroom. Strauss is playing, and you're maybe trying to push that envelope a little bit, whether it's whatever direction you're trying to go, while still trying to honor some of that tradition, some of the waltz holds or steps or what have you. So that I think is the challenge for teams and for coaches and choreographers. But I think the programs that really hit are the ones that sort of find that balance and that
Yeah.
nuance and that sort of how to mix some creativity, some innovation, with some tradition at the same time. So I think it's going to be an interesting year for the rhythm dance this year.
Absolutely. I'm looking forward to it for sure. And
Hmm.
so I just want to kind of bring it back to you a little bit and the many hats that you wear and and how and also a dedicated father to your beautiful son and how do you manage that I know a little bit about that and so I know how stressful and how tiring it was for me. How are you managing that?
Oh, good question. I think, honestly, every day is a battle. It's, you think a lot about what your life was supposed to look like, um, and it's exhausting. Um, I am very fortunate that, I mean, first of all, I have an incredible support system around me. Could not be doing this without them, namely my parents. But I'm lucky that I like my job. We'll just keep it simple that way. I'm very passionate about my job, so that has been huge. And I'm, you know, uh, I don't know if passionate's the right word, but I've got a 3.5-year-old that is, my whole world, and um, having those two things I'm very in love with, I think is how I get through it.
For sure, for
That's
sure.
that's uh, that's what gives me just enough energy. It feels like sometimes to get through, but no, I'm leaning on a lot of people,
Yeah,
professional life, like all of it. I'm uh, I'm grateful, and I couldn't be doing it without that system.
yeah, yeah, excellent. I'm so glad that you've got that support system. I
Yep.
think many people may tend to not reach out and really embrace their support system and let them help, right? We think sometimes that we've got to do it all on ourselves, right?
Yep. No.
Um, and I
Yep.
know also that, when I was going through it in the shows with traveling, touring with a child, I had to remember that I had to put different hats on, right?
Yeah, for
Like
sure.
when I stepped on the ice, I had my show skater, my professional
Yep.
hat on. But the minute I stepped off that ice and walked into the dressing room with my son, that hat was off, and I
Yep.
was like a
Exactly.
whole
And
different person.
that's yeah, exactly. It's a great way to put it. And that's I mean, I figured it out pretty quickly, but um get home, phone goes away, like hang out with your kid.
Yeah,
If that phone's anywhere near me, I'm checking the message about tomorrow's lesson or I'm seeing who's not going to be on that session. You know what I mean? Like, so
yeah,
I've learned that pretty quickly that, spend the couple hours you have in the evening with your kid, like
yeah,
spend it with your kid, put your phone away,
yeah,
and then when he gets to sleep, then I can do some preparing for the next day or whatever it might be. But um, yeah, it's there's different hats, but for me, at the end of the day, I'm passionate about those hats, and I think that's what's keeping me going.
excellent. Yeah, and every moment is sort of you know those moments don't come again. So whether it's the precious moments of when your son is young and all the special new moments, like first time moments, right? You want to be there and embrace those, as well as, with your skaters. Like, these are all, precious moments that you take with you. And that's why I like to kind of keep my hats very compartmentalized, so I can fully be in. And did I do that very well in the beginning? No. you know they
Well,
bled
you
into
learn, right?
each other. Yeah, but you
Yeah,
kind of you figure it out, and you learn because you have to,
yeah,
right?
exactly.
Excellent.
It's a great way to put it. I use that a lot. Early on, I was just saying Charlie was he didn't give me a choice not to get out of bed, right? There was
Exactly.
most mornings I did not want to, and I didn't have a choice, and so that was the best thing for me, and that's how I see it.
Yeah. Yeah. Awesome. So, Mariposa, coming back to the school,
Yeah.
Mariposa prides itself on kind of that, offering a full tier technical support, right down to your, now the equipment level, with your partnering with
Mhm.
the, boots and blades, and managing the precision fittings and blade profiles, and all, for figure skaters, all that stuff. Um, what is it like, sort of navigating that delicate boundary between the strict kind of physics of modern equipment, and the intense, sort of, often we get very superstitious with our with that, how our, boots and blades have to be. How do you manage that to offer really good guidance to skaters coming in?
Yeah, I think I often say with fittings, with skaters, you're fitting their head. You're not necessarily fitting their feet, um,
So
uh, be-
true.
because of what you're saying, just about sort of superstition and
They're used to a
uh,
certain thing, and
yeah,
they don't
creatures of
like
habit.
anything that takes them off that, right?
Creatures of habit, right?
Yeah.
And yeah, can fully understand that. But yeah, I think so. Boots and Blades, the skate shop here, run out of the Mariposa office. Basically, a little gig for my mom and I that we took on a few years ago. She had retired from her career, her work, and I think wanted a little something to do. And this opportunity presented itself to us, and we kind of jumped on it. And yeah, it's we had a pretty big skate shop here in Barrie for years, that unfortunately closed during COVID. Um, and so there's a huge service gap
Yeah.
in sort of central northern Ontario, and
Hmm.
people basically were having to go to Toronto to buy figure skates, right? So we saw a bit of a service gap there, and we wanted to fill it, and yeah, we are. I think it's exciting to not only help with the skaters that we see every day, but also having Susie come down from North Bay or whatever it might be, and saving that hour, going down to the city is people are indicating they're very appreciative of that, and yeah, so my mom and I are having fun with it, and I'm drawing on my experience working for Jackson Ultima. When I retired from skating, I started coaching right away, but I also took a gig, a rep gig with Jackson Ultima. I was working with them for a few years, learned a ton about skates,
Yeah.
and here we are. So, yeah, we're having fun with it, and like I said, it's a great feeling to be able to have this option available for skating families, especially um, young kids
Yeah.
and beginners. Parents are having, a parent from Barrie has their child wants to start can skate, and now they don't have to drive down to the city to buy a beginner pair of skates. I think is a great thing, and it's just helping put more people on the ice.
Absolutely. And so, for anyone that's going to be listening, and how can please explain to everybody
Yeah,
what exactly Boots and Blades offers, and how they can
yeah.
contact you.
Yeah, so Boots, our business name is Boots and Blades. We are by appointment only. That's my mom and I, that's our way of kind of controlling the hours that we're putting into this, because we both have very busy lives going on. But we have Facebook and an Instagram profile, Boots and Blades. All the information there is in the bio. generally best to phone calls great, emails great. Both are listed on our social media sites. Reach out and we'll set up an appointment that's sort of mutually convenient for both parties, and we'll get you fit. We at this point right now, we're only selling Jackson Ultima products, so Jackson boots, Ultima blades. Great Canadian company, based in Cambridge. Um, Ton of the best skaters in the world are wearing Jackson Ultimate product. I'm on their boots and blades. I have been since I was a kid. So great product. I stand behind it, and great people at the company. That's one of the big positives too. Is that if we have an issue with one of the products or I have a question about something, I get on the phone and they're there to help. And like I said, really great people over at the company that are in it for the skaters,
Yep.
and that's a really important thing for us. So yeah, that's what do I call it? Our side hustle. That's what my mom and I are doing
Great.
to keep us busy.
As if you're not busy enough.
No, exactly. And I mean, I'll use the time here to shout out to my mom. Like, she's at my house every morning at 6 a.m. so I can go to the rink. She gets Charlie up and ready for school and daycare and out the door. And yeah, I couldn't be doing it without her.
Wonderful. Kudos to moms.
Yeah, right. Agreed.
So as we push into this new season, what is the big picture vision for Mariposa? What are you guys excited to build next? What's coming up this summer?
Yeah, so we're just about to jump into the thick of it. We have one more week coming up here of our sort of, we call it summer prep ice, before the Mariposa seminar. That then leads us into our 7 week summer school. So yeah, big stuff happening here right now. We're getting geared up for the seminar. We got a great list of coaches going on this year, and it's always a awesome week. Lots of skaters from all over the place that we don't get to see very often. Come and join us, and it's really a great week of learning. We I was explaining sort of off COVID. We were in a rebuild. I think COVID was difficult for everybody, every club. But even preceding COVID, we were kind of in that sort of rebuild posturing.
Yep.
My dad and Paul Matheson purchased Mariposa from Doug Lee in it was 2017-18. So that rebuild was kind of starting to take place, and then of course pandemic. So we're feeling, last year, this year especially, wheels are starting to really spin. That we are rebuilding. We've got some pretty good quality skating going on again in the building, which is really exciting. And I think just um, it's sort of an exponential thing. You get some quality skating going on and everybody feeds off of it, right?
For sure.
It's that sort
It
of,
builds.
you see what the intention should be, and that environment that it creates is it works for itself. It really is important. So yeah, we're feeling pretty juiced up. We're feeling pretty energized. My dad and Paul have done a great job with the office team, like the work that's being done in the office, from the social media to the administrative work. It's all very well handled.
Mhm.
And that's
Mhm.
bleeding out onto the stuff we see out on the ice in terms of programming and whatever. So um, yeah, we're feeling pretty positive about our direction, and we're just looking to continue offering the best skating programming and instruction that we can, and keep the foot on the gas here and see what kind of momentum we can build.
Excellent, excellent. And I know with the upcoming seminar, I'm like honored and thrilled to be part of that, to come in and be part of that mindset
Yeah,
coaching part of it with
yeah,
all the
excited to
other
have you.
other great coaches that are going to be there. Explain a little bit to skaters to encourage them to come, what the seminar is going to be part of and how they can register.
Yeah, so best to go. I always direct people to the Mariposa website. It's a great website, tons of information, and pretty user friendly as well. I find it's a pretty straightforward website, but all encompassing at the same time. There is, like I said, start there. Whatever information you're looking for, you will find on the website. We have Trinette in the office, who's excellent, and she's got a couple of young assistants now as well that are also awesome. So pick up the phone, call Trinette, and she's here to help. And she'll direct you. She'll get you set up with whatever it is that you're looking for in skating, whether it's hockey, skating work, or figure. We can service that here. So we're proud of that, and start at the website. Always start at the website. It's user friendly, and tons of great info on there.
Excellent. So, Mitch, with your technical insight, your commitment to preserving the integrity of skating skills, and really building that and the resilient sort of high performance environment in your school. I'm really proud to know all of you, and thank you for sort of being another school that's providing this high performance environment that you're cultivating in Ontario. Thank you so much for joining us, and I wish you all the very best in this season.
Thanks, Christine. It was a pleasure to talk to you, and thank you for your role that you're playing with the next skating generation as well. I know one of my skaters in particular that speaks very fondly of the work that she does with you, and I think it's such important work in any sport, but in this sport in particular, such important work. So thank you, and we're looking forward to having you with us for the Mariposa seminar in a couple weeks. And appreciate the conversation.
Can't wait to see you all. Thanks awesome. So much.
Thanks, Christine.
Bye.
I want to thank Mitchell Islam for taking the time out to chat with me today. And for everyone listening, if you want to follow Mitch's work, check out the Mariposa School of Skating at skatemariposa.com or on Instagram at skatemariposa, as well as on Facebook. And if you're an athlete looking for elite equipment expertise, go visit Mitch at Boots and Blades in Barrie, Ontario. If this episode resonated with you, make sure to like, share, and subscribe. And if you're looking for more mindset tools, visit me at christinereeves.ca/freebies. There you'll find free resources for skaters, coaches, and parents. And if you'd like personalized support, I offer a free 20-minute coaching consultation. Just contact me at christinereeves.ca/coaching or email me at info@christinereeves.ca. This Saturday, join me at the Indigo Bookstore in the Erin Mills Centre. I'll be there signing my new book, Glitz and Grit Beyond the Spotlight. Grab a coffee and get your copy signed, and let's chat about skating and high-performance mindset. I'm Christine Reeves-Welesne, and this is the Anti-Fragile Mindset. We'll see you next week.